Hi everyone, happy Thursday. If you remember the story I read yesterday, we talked about how very special you are and how all people are special in many different ways. Today I'd like to read to you a story about two very special little animals. The title of the book is called Just Like You. It is written by Robert Kroupa. In a little cottage in the deep piney forest, there lived a field mouse named Henry and his spider friend. His name was Boris. Here's Henry, and here's Boris. Boris had 7 legs that were very, very strong, but his last leg, leg number 8, was curled, so he had to pull it along. And as he crept and crawled over shady pathways, Henry waited for Boris so they could both play. Well, he maybe moved a little slower than other spiders because one of his legs didn't work that well. Though Henry was fast and ran all the mouse races, those he passed off the track made nasty mouse faces. And since Henry was deaf, his ears folded in half. He couldn't hear the other mice tease him or laugh. So if an animal or a person is deaf, it means their ears don't work and they can't hear. So the other animals were making fun of him, but he couldn't hear them laughing. If you look here, Boris has made him a message. Boris was really good at writing with webs. It says, "Go Henry." So Boris spun webs with words that Henry could read, because remember, he couldn't hear. And he wove stories in them for Henry to see. Wow, he made some very cool webs. It's like a pirate ship. Boris was a really good friend. Other spiders were bullies, acting mean and poking fun. Your webs aren't like ours, and you can't even run. Were they kind to him? I can spin webs like yours, Boris held up his head, but I have other ways. Mine are like this instead. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. They still were mean, saying Boris was lame and Henry was dumb. You're just not the same. We are different, said Boris. Henry sighed. That is true, but in so many ways, we are just like you. Henry picked up Boris, and they slowly went home to their little tin house where they lived all alone. They stayed by themselves near the narrow, cold creek under roofs of green leaves, and they played hide-and-go-seek. There they are walking home, and there they are playing together. Henry swam in the river and climbed up the trees. Boris read in the sun with a book on his knees. But then one hot day, while Boris lay sleeping, Henry saw an orange spark, and then he saw a flame leaping. How does Henry look? Very surprised. Henry signed with his paws, "Wake up, there's a fire." They saw flames spread wider, and they watched them grow higher. The wind began blowing, fire danced all around. Soon their green forest would be burned to the ground. Oh dear, look at that. What do you think they're going to do? We must tell the others. Boris started to weave, quickly spinning a web for them all to see. Henry tied a gold bell to the end of his tail. Then they raced up the hill with their flag like a sail. He's busy making a web. think they had a plan? They rushed through the forest. They rang the bell loudly. Boris waved his web warning. Henry pounded the door soundly. Can you read what the web says? F-I-R-E. It says fire. The others poured out from their burrows and lairs to smell the gray smoke and see soot in the air. All cried when they saw the flames in the forest. Then they ran from the fire, led by Henry and Boris. There they go, and all the animals are following them. When it started to rain, everyone stopped to stare. Flames sputtered and hissed, making steam in the air. They all gathered round as the drops fell from the sky. When the smoke fizzled out, "We are saved!" rose the cry. Ooh, the rain fell and put the fire out. Then they looked at each other, and each of them knew it was wrong to be mean to such friends as these two. They hoisted up Henry and lifted Boris. In their many small voices, they rang out like a chorus. I think they felt bad about the way they treated them. And there they are, lifting them up. They're heroes. Because now we all see that it really is true. You are just like us, and we are just like you. They all live. It says, welcome home to the piney forest. You think they all got along after that? I think they may have. So I hope you enjoyed our stories this week. We'll be back next week with some more tales to tell.